This is an end reveal style video. Stick around until the end to learn the surprise ending. During World War II, there were wars within the war, which spawned some strange bedfellows. One such arrangement existed between Russia and the United States. Given the icy relationship between the two superpowers that existed since the Second World War, it seems odd that the two countries were indeed allies with a common goal of defeating the Nazi Third Reich. The Russians were the first of this duo of powerful nations to enter the war against Germany due to the German invasion of Russia in June 1941. The U.S. entered the war in December 1941 as a result of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The Allied forces had long coveted America's entry into World War II because they felt that a strong ally like the United States would turn the tide in favor of the Allied forces. That proved to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the story of a Russian airborne military unit that existed and operated successfully against all odds in the defense of Russia against the formidable German army. The 588th Night Bomber Regiment was formed in 1942 to bomb and harass German troops, which were a part of the invasion force whose intended goal was to take over and occupy Russia. When one thinks of World War II bomber squadrons, usually images of sleek, multi-million-dollar airplanes with multiple highly trained crew members, such as B-24s, come to mind. Unfortunately for the members of the 588th, this could not have been farther from the truth. By the time the 588th was formed, all the more sophisticated aircraft available to the Russian Air Force were already in service and being used by other flight squadrons. All that was left for the brave pilots of the 588th were outdated Polikarpov PO-2 two-seated open cockpit biplanes that were originally designated as training aircraft and crop dusters, first put into service in the 1920s and 1930s. The Polikarpovs were nothing more than airplanes constructed of plywood with canvas stretched over them and were never intended as combat aircraft. The payloads were small, so each sortie could deliver only small amounts of ordnances, but the pilots and their antiquated equipment proved very effective in their mission of harassment against the German troops. The slow airspeed of the small bombers, which would seem to be problematic, turned out to be beneficial to the pilots. Their highest rate of airspeed was slower than the stall-out speed of German aircraft, and thus they became difficult targets for German fighters. Also, they only flew night missions, which added to their stealth capabilities. Another successful tactic used to avoid enemy anti-aircraft ordnance was to cut their engines off and glide through their target zones and then reignite the engines after the payloads had been delivered. The German soldiers became aware of the silent swooshing sounds of the small enemy aircraft, and the bombers became known as night witches. The 588th continued to operate successfully until the end of World War II. The brave pilots would sometimes fly up to 8 sorties a night in windy, freezing conditions, and frostbite was always of major concern. By the end of the war, the Night Witches had flown around 30,000 bombing raids, delivering around 23,000 tons of munitions to their enemy. The 588th lost 30 pilots during their service years, and 23 pilots were awarded the title of Hero of Russia. The Night Witches didn't have great planes or weaponry, nor much support for their unit. All things considered, their effectiveness as a successful fighting unit was nonetheless remarkable, especially considering that all the pilots, co-pilots, and mechanics in the 588th were women. As Paul Harvey would say, now you know the rest of the story. If you enjoyed this video, give a thumbs up, click on the bell for notification of future videos, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching.